Isabela. Today we're discussing a really intriguing and somewhat weighty topic, but incredibly important: intentionally creating jealousy. It's that thought, if they don't feel a little threatened, perhaps they won't value me as much.
Oh, Sophia, that's a significant one. I believe many people, perhaps unconsciously, might fall into that trap. But intentionally creating it, that feels like a completely different level. What exactly do we mean when we talk about intentionally provoking jealousy?
Precisely. The definition is clear. It's intentionally provoking envy or insecurity in someone to boost their attention, desire, or commitment to you. It's tricky because, on the surface, it can feel like valid proof that you matter, that you are desired, that you have value. It serves as a shortcut, Isabella, to reassurance. However, reassurance built on insecurity invariably comes with a significant cost. Always.
Wow, a shortcut to reassurance. That makes a lot of sense, even if it's, well, not healthy. I can understand why someone might lean into that, especially if they're feeling a bit vulnerable. So, Sophia, what do you think is truly driving this need for such proof?
That's exactly right, Isabella. At its core, this behavior is about a deep need for validation, for reassurance, a desire for status, and a fear of not being enough. People who lean into this often struggle significantly with their own self-worth. It's like they're constantly seeking external affirmation to fill an internal void.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it really isn't about the other person then, but more about them needing to feel seen or valued themselves, right? It sounds like a reflection of internal struggles rather than a genuine desire for connection.
Precisely. And it very often stems from insecure attachment. That's the root. There's a core belief that forms: if they don't feel threatened, they won't value me. This often develops in competitive or emotionally inconsistent environments during childhood or formative years. So it's not just random, it's usually deeply rooted in past experiences and a perceived lack of consistent love or attention. They essentially learn they have to compete for affection or attention. It's quite sad.
That's really insightful, Sophia. It's almost like a survival mechanism that just gets carried into adulthood, causing all these issues. You mentioned it feels powerful. What are those immediate feelings someone experiences when they intentionally provoke jealousy?
Yeah, it feels really powerful in the moment, Isabella. It totally grabs their attention right away. The person you're provoking, they suddenly pursue you more, completely focused. This gives a huge ego boost, cutting down that fear of being ignored, a big deal for insecure attachment. It creates this illusion of control, like, I can make them care more. But it's just an illusion, a super convincing one. Honestly, the real cost is devastating. Neuroscientifically, it actually strengthens comparison-based reward circuits in your brain.
Wow, so it literally rewires your brain? That's, pretty intense. So your brain starts associating love with rivalry and feeling threatened? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Your brain basically starts to think, this uncomfortable feeling, this threat, this rivalry, it actually brings me closer to love or attention, which obviously is just not healthy. Psychologically, your internal insecurity actually just gets worse. It doesn't resolve. You get that temporary ego boost, but deep down, that anxiety about being replaced just grows. You're constantly seeking external validation, never truly secure.
So it's like a totally vicious cycle, right? You create the jealousy to feel better, but then you just end up feeling even worse internally because the core issue isn't being addressed. And it's training your brain to seek out more of that competition and insecurity instead of real connection.
Precisa, Isabela, a very vicious cycle, and it affects everything. Relationally, trust declines, emotional safety weakens so much. Resentment, it just accumulates like a heavy cloud over the relationship. You can't build a strong, lasting connection on manipulation, you know? And then there's the identity cost. You become someone who maintains connection through insecurity rather than confidence. Your sense itself gets wrapped up in this pattern, like, this is how I get what I need.
Oh, that's heartbreaking, Sophia. So it doesn't just damage the relationship, but it also, it changes who you are. It erodes your authentic self. You're not building a connection based on who you really are, but on like a strategy.
Exactly. And then spiritually or existentially, the alignment with sincerity and loyalty just erodes. Your conscience, it dulls when you intentionally destabilize another's sense of safety. You're knowingly creating discomfort in someone you supposedly care about. And that takes a toll on your inner self, on your soul. It makes it harder to be truly genuine, to be authentic, because you're always playing a game.
Wow, I never really thought about it from that spiritual perspective. It's like you're not just hurting another person, but you're also hurting yourself, your own integrity, your own sense of what's right. So what happens if someone keeps doing this, like for years? What's the long-term trajectory?
If this pattern, mi querida, is repeated for years, the future trajectory is, well, quite bleak. Relationships feel tense and competitive. Partners often become jealous or controlling in response, which is just a mirror of the behavior, you know? Emotional safety declines significantly. You may attract insecure or reactive partners because that's what you're putting out there. Conflict escalates over time. Breakups become dramatic, and your own jealousy may intensify because that neural pathway is just getting stronger. Stability and long-term commitment becomes fragile, almost impossible.
Oh, that's a really dark picture, Sophia. So it's not just about one relationship, it's about a whole pattern that, just keeps repeating itself and getting worse. And what about the people around you, like the collateral damage? The collateral damage is immense. Partners may develop their own insecurity patterns. Children, Isabella, they may internalize rivalry as love, thinking that's how relationships work, Oh, mom and dad always had to compete for attention. Social circles may become divided or distrustful because people start to pick up on the underlying tension and manipulation. If you reinforce this for 5 to 10 years, this doesn't just become a behavior. This becomes your validation strategy, your relational pattern, your attachment wiring, your emotional baseline, and ultimately your identity. It's like who you are. It just becomes intertwined with this insecurity.
Sophia, hearing about that long-term impact is just really intense. For someone recognizing these patterns, how do they even start to pivot towards something healthier?
That's a super important question. These patterns aren't set in stone. Breaking this cycle means shifting your validation source to build self-worth internally, creating secure, trusting connections.
Okay, so like shifting our internal system, that sounds like a big change. What are some practical steps to transform out of that anxiety cycle?
Totally. 2 key things. First, directly ask for reassurance, avoiding manipulation. Second, build self-worth through consistent values and actions. That cuts down on needing outside validation.
So it's really about choosing directness and nurturing self-love instead of creating distance with manipulation. Sounds like a much more secure path. Exactly. Before provoking insecurity, pause. Check your motivation. Am I building genuine connection or controlling through instability? That self-awareness is key to choosing integrity and your authentic self.
Isabella, today's deep dive into intentionally provoking jealousy revealed its damaging impact on trust, identity, and authentic connection. It's a path born from insecurity, but we highlighted that true security blossoms through authenticity, open communication, and cultivating genuine self-worth.
Absolutely, Sophia. We truly hope this episode empowers you to choose connection over control. If it resonated, please like, share, and subscribe to the Good Life Guide for more discussions that uplift and inspire.
For inspiration, thought nuggets, and community, find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and YouTube as Good Life Guide. You can relax watching on YouTube or listen on Spotify and other podcast platforms for on-the-go content. Discover additional tools and resources at www.goodlifeguide.org. Thank you for joining us. We genuinely love spreading awareness and appreciate the wonderful community we're building.